Cool.
Hey, welcome to another typology interview. We have Fred. How's it going, man?
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's good to be
Yeah,
here.
thanks for coming out. Um, I know you're an INFJ. I don't really know more than that. I don't know your animals or your modalities, but it's pretty cool. Are you new to typology? Have you been around typology for a while?
So I kind of stumbled into like the 16personalities.com quiz. That was like a
Right.
few years ago. I just got like an INFP result. It's like fun little
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Yeah, share it around, and that was the end of it. Didn't really think much of it. But then at the start of this year, I kind of just had a little bit of an episode, I suppose, and I just stumbled into objective personality through their
Right.
YouTube channel. I think it was like the like are you mistyped or something? I think that was the first one.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I kind of went down the rabbit hole. Took a few days off work, went a
Yeah.
bit crazy. Yeah, and that's where it started. From then, I kind of once I got like a rough understanding of how OP worked, then I started going into stuff like socionics and that kind of stuff. But I
Right.
really don't know much about that.
Hmm.
Just kind of just
Cool.
explored it a little bit.
And before you got typed, did you still think you were INFP, or you changed yourself up a bit?
So my whole process throughout this whole thing has been because coming into OP, it's like we really don't see ourselves. It's something Jung talked about as well. And so, like right from the start, wasn't ever really sold on any one particular type.
Hmm.
I was very aware that I'm not really seeing what I'm doing. I don't really see reality. Uh, so um, yeah, I mean, I was always sort of sure I'm an NF just because I'm
Okay.
sort of kind of vague, uh, and other people have called me kind of like hippie-like in the past. So it's like, I don't know, it's sort of like hard to refute that.
Right.
Um, yeah, I wasn't really sure of what it was, and
Okay.
like even now I'm still piecing it together.
Okay, so is your type sitting with you at the moment? Like, are you getting it, or are you still have a few difficulties?
Yeah, the so my full type code is
We'll get into it. I just wanted to know
oh,
in
okay,
general.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, man.
Yes. Um, so what was the question again?
Like, is it sitting well with you that you're the type that you got, or you still have a few difficulties?
Yeah, there were some things that took me a little bit of time to kind of
Right.
uh, before it really kind of settled in me. Um, it's mostly like the NI thing,
Mm,
because I don't know. I suppose I still have a lot of shit in my head from like, reading other people's description about it,
right.
uh, especially like all the mysticism stuff,
Mm,
presumed to be written by people who don't have it or have it low. Because
right.
like to me, that's not what it really is. So I think
That's right.
that's something I'm still processing.
That's right. Okay. Your NI, is it masculine or feminine?
Masculine. Yeah.
Masculine NI. Okay. All right. So it's a really strong NI, savior and masculine.
Yeah, strong is strong is one word for it.
Right.
Stubborn,
Stubborn,
delusional. Yeah.
delusional. Okay. Yeah. Is it difficult that's it's like it's a difficult lead function for you to have?
It definitely was when I was a kid.
Right.
Yeah. Like looking back on it now, like that's a lot of what I've been trying to process and kind of going back through my life and trying to match up, you know, stuff that's happened,
Right.
you know, through this. Masculine and I, as a kid, was very much like nobody understands what's actually going on. Like it's sort of embarrassing to say it out loud now, but like as a kid, it's like um, yeah, it's just I unconsciously consumed somewhere the description of sort of like when NI is unhealthy, it's sort of like solipsistic. It's like
Right.
nothing else really exists, and
Right.
like the only thing that exists is my mind.
Yeah.
And like for most of my life, it's a really good way of describing it. I thought I was just sort of broken. Like I didn't realize what I was actually doing,
Uh-huh.
and other people weren't doing that, I suppose.
Yeah, don't feel embarrassed at all. This is like it's really good insight into what it's like to grow up as a masculine NI and stuff. So it's you've obviously come a long way since then. So yeah, tell us a little bit about some of your struggles when you were a child and stuff.
Um, so I suppose with like with the feminine SE and like I suppose low consume, um, it's like I was never really sure of what was going on. Uh,
Like always sort
like
of out of it.
yeah, and like I kind of struggled with sleep as well when I was a kid, and so I had kind of like hallucinations and stuff like that, um, which was kind of a struggle. Yeah, I can't, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
I can't really think of any other examples.
Where is your sleep in your stack? Is it third or fourth or second?
Third.
Third. Okay. All right.
Mm,
Um, so then that would make you blast, play, sleep, consume.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The blast play was something that took quite a bit of time to kind of really
Yeah.
process.
That is kind of weird because if you're
Mm.
feeling like really out of it and play as a savior, you should have felt present and then in the moment at times.
Yeah, I suppose when I was really young, or even when I was in like upper school, I would kind of like dart around different groups and just try and get a gauge of, how like I was fascinated by social cliques and how
Hmm.
like uh, certain cliques when they kind of like would collide, there was sort of like weird friction, and I remember they'd have like this sort of weird cycle where like at lunch breaks, whatever, they'd all occupy a different space and then they kind of rotate around. Like I don't know, stuff like that. But I think uh, I suppose like social anxiety and just anxiety in general. I suppose the blast play, I kind of internalized it, if that makes sense. So instead
Huh.
of actually going out in the world and experiencing it, I kind of just sort of fell into the NI and I kind of just simulate it all in my head instead.
I
I
see.
just simulate other people and other potential experiences.
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah,
Does it sit well with you that play is really your second animal,
um, yeah,
or sleep maybe more?
yeah. Well, so for a long time I thought sleep was high because, like, especially I kind of recognized that I have those ramp ups in the evenings of doing
Right.
things. Um, and like it's hard to get out of bed. But like more I kind of process this, I've been stuck in this loop for a really long time, and of just uh, like the way Dave and Shan describe it, which is pretty accurate. It's just going and crashing, and
I
uh,
see.
not having a sleep pattern. So I have no energy. Like I'm constantly drained because I just don't. Am I allowed to swear on here?
Sure, why not? Go for it.
Okay. I don't want to get demonetized or something.
I'm not getting
I
any
just
money, so it's okay.
I just thought I'd ask because I do have a tendency to swear. Like I did this interview with the NINE guys.
Right.
Um, I was just swearing constantly. um, sorry, I forgot what we were talking about.
We were talking about your energy dominance, how you were going and then drained, like just wasting all your energy right away.
That's it. Yeah. So like because I don't have a sleep pattern. That's something I've developed over this year actually. But um, see, I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just constantly drained because I'm
Well,
not actually
because like
sleeping.
so that would make you energy dominant too. Do you see yourself as energy dominant? Do you see yourself always worrying about the energy, always trying to balance the energy, not really worrying as much about the information?
Yeah, especially in like in the video I sent to OP, David Sham. Uh, like even in the space of that video, there was lots of going and crashing, or even like in the space of like what we're doing here,
Mm-hmm.
I do have these kind of crashing. Uh, the consume the consume last. I definitely see that. Like,
Right.
uh, uh, yeah, just actually see. This near the start, I did think I'd consume high. So
Right.
I consume all the time. Um, but like, especially seeing other people with consume high, it's like I really, I don't know.
But like you said, you took a couple days off work in order to consume OP.
Yeah, so it was sort of like demon possession. So that's a good. I think that's a great example of consume last.
Uh-huh.
Like, I just really kind of like I was taking notes and everything, and I was just and it's sort of like nothing else really mattered at that point. Like the only thing I was doing was building um this understanding, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. So you were locked onto something. Like all of your animals and all of your functions were sort of locked onto something to figure it out. And so then that's when you finally went to consume it.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way of explaining it.
Okay.
Mm.
Um, do you do do you see yourself as unable, like most of the information that's inside you, it's like self-generating, it's overloading, and it's hard to add more information onto yourself, like it's painful?
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, especially when I'm like watching videos and or just trying to read. So I can't get through a sentence or like even like a short period of time in the video before I'm already kind of just looking at my own brain, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So
The chatter in
it's like
your head
this
is too loud.
exactly, yeah. It's like it's this constant like veil over my head that
Uh-huh.
it's yeah, it's really difficult to get stuff in. And it's
Right.
also kind of there is a sort of fear aspect of it, especially like out in the world. It's a mixture. It's like I'm scared of taking the world in and actually looking at like kind of um, just taking anything in, and also I feel like I'm not allowed. Like if I looking at people, I feel like I'm not allowed to look at people or like not allowed to look at things. So I kind of just keep my head down and
Why
uh,
do you feel like you can't look at things? You're not allowed to.
um, well with people it's sort of a mixture. Like when I was a kid, um, I don't know. I'd have a tendency to kind of analyze people, and I
Mm-hmm.
can understand now that that can be very intense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I kind of feel like it's sort of like my FE is like the best thing I can do for other people is to not analyze them, is to not be in their lives, and to keep to myself. Um,
Why?
I,
Why is
I,
that bad
I
for
don't-
people?
I suppose I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of an actual reason why it's actually bad for people, rather than
Why do you feel it's bad for people, at least? Where did that notion come
um,
from?
I think it's just like um the analyzing of people and knowing that people don't like being analyzed and um I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay, let's get back to your NI a little bit. We sort of strayed. So do you see yourself as looking into the future a lot?
This is an interesting thing because uh I thought I was SI for a long time
Right.
because I spend a lot of time looking back and looking back at what I've done.
Right.
Um,
That's a lot of
I
sleep
s
then.
Yeah, well, I suppose that makes sense. Yeah, um, and then but like I don't know. I don't really kind of plan anything. I don't really look forward much.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of the conclusion I've drawn from that is I've just really not been using my NI to actually do that. Like I don't think that's something NI naturally does. I've been using it for analysis. I've been analyzing my past and myself, and um,
Mm-hmm.
and just like developing some kind of understanding of
Right.
anything. Yeah.
Tell us about
So
those understandings you're developing. Is that like something you feel compulsively a need to do to develop those understandings?
um, yeah, and strangely, it's like I feel like my head is very chaotic. So like, I don't really have like any kind of overarching. I don't know. I was gonna say it's not like it's almost like I don't really. Hmm, I don't know. It's very hard to articulate it.
Yeah, I get
Uh,
that. Yeah. Well,
mm,
it often is hard to articulate concepts and things because you have to. They lose meaning when you articulate them, right?
that's a brilliant way of putting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of like what's in my head. It doesn't really kind of have a language. So like
Yeah.
trying to like slice it down into words. It's uh, like how
Yeah.
can I even? Yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, yeah.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's like as soon as you put it into a language, it sort of loses meaning, or it gains a definition, and the definition makes it lose its meaning in a way. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's a struggle. Like as a lead blast, it's a struggle, I think, for especially NI to be able to communicate. Like for me, I'm supposed to have. I always thought it was blast last because of that struggle to communicate and put those concepts into words. and I can see as well with like a lead blast, it's even a struggle. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought I had low blast as well. So I'm an absolute mumble fuck. So it's
Right.
like, how could I be blast first? But I can definitely see it now in my head. Because I am constantly. It's sort of like I'm doing little. It's like I'm constantly teaching myself. If that makes
Uh-huh.
sense.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I thought I had sleep because I'm going over known information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really kind of processing it and kind of slicing it down. I also thought I had NE for a while because it does feel like it kind of scatters and splinters.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think what it's sort of doing is the FE is sort of splintering it, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Also, your first shadow function should be NE, so it shouldn't be a problem for you to NE, but it should sort of feel a little bit awkward. And yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So like shadow function is something I'm interested in going back to.
yeah,
Um. So like like my first result was INFP, and I thought my first function was FI. So I'm wondering if that's like something you've seen that's common with NI users, or if it's, where would that be in my shadow stack and what that would mean?
yeah. Well, I would really like to have you back for like a full shadow interview at some point. Um, it's a good discussion. But maybe we can like first go over, yeah, your main functions and stuff. But like it's
Okay, cool.
interesting that like that you did say that your NI is splintering, because for me it feels like the opposite. Like NI is trying to consolidate and not splinter.
Mm.
Like,
I think that's why it's so uncomfortable.
okay,
Like processing this now, it's because I want everything to be like homogenous,
uh-huh, yeah,
but
exactly.
it's like my brain won't even let me do it. It's like it tears it apart. Uh, but like Shan describes in a beautiful way. I think it's a really good way of describing it. It's sort of like collecting all the raindrops into one whole raindrop.
Hmm.
I was thinking about this more, and I can definitely identify that. And in myself, it's sort of like once I collect enough of those raindrops, it gets to this sort of critical mass,
Right.
and the surface tension breaks, and uh, then I have two raindrops.
Yeah, it's an interesting
Uh,
analogy. Yeah.
yeah, so like it's sort of like the more I kind of just randomly gather, I'm trying to get it all into one thing, but
So I'm wondering this because I've been thinking about this. There's a guy interviewed Austin, and he's a little different from his type twins. And I'm wondering if there's a looking in on an eye and looking out from an eye. If there's like a difference, because for me, when I look at my NI, I'm looking inwards on NI. I'm looking at trying to consolidate things in. But I mean, when you're looking out from NI, you're seeing how these consolidated concepts can fracture out and be projected into the future. Like, and then I guess that's what blast is taking these concepts and projecting them into reality and seeing how you can plan with the in that process. Do you see yourself more looking out from an eye?
yeah, that's a good way of describing it, actually. Um, and especially in like I sort of identify NI more easily when I'm actually using it in the moment. So like I answer questions on Quora, for instance. And it's like I don't really have access to, I suppose, my NI until something kind of stirs it. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah, so like I'll answer a question and it's like, oh fuck, I actually do know about this, like somewhere. But yeah, yeah, but like having to actually conjure stuff is very difficult for me.
That's an
Um,
interesting way to put it. Conjure. That's a cool word. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, I'm a fan of that word. Uh, so yeah, fucking NI is just so hard. I kind of have a theory as well.
Sure.
There's lots of because I've been trying to understand NI by other people's descriptions. Like, okay, so what actually fucking is it? Like, how can I actually kind of understand this properly? Like NI understanding itself, and it seems like a lot of people have very different descriptions of it. I suppose because it's like it's an introvert function, so it's subjective. But
Right.
it's almost like their description of NI is this another NI. Uh, Sort of just NI describing itself. It's sort of like it's not what it's actually doing, but it's just like this paradoxical NI analogy to describe itself in order to actually use it. And so I suppose like answering these questions about NI, because I haven't developed this sort of description of itself, I can't actually use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because
Mm.
like where you as an NI user, where you're pulling your understanding from is NI. And it's exactly that. It's NI understanding itself. That's what you have to do in order to be able to speak about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, I suppose because I haven't properly taken NI seriously. I think largely because of like the social value attached to it.
right,
I didn't want to be an NJ, you know,
right.
whatever. So like, yeah, I think finding some way of NI describing itself is something I'm going to have to do over time now.
Yeah. Do you find that all things sort of consolidate? Like all things have some kind of similar root? Does it feel like everything is united in some way? Everything has a general theme that unites everything, or maybe it branches out from somewhere deeper?
Um, yeah, I was thinking about this earlier actually. Uh, I mean, I suppose for me, it's sort of just obvious that everything's connected. Like everything is,
Right,
everything's the same, and uh, in many ways, the universe is just a big brain, and we're just tiny brains that we're part of the universe that gets to experience itself. That's all we are, really.
right.
Um, so yeah, just like I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And like religion, I find quite interesting as a concept. Like I was thinking maybe I can use that as a kind of tool because
Sure.
I've always considered myself as sort of like a pantheist.
Okay.
It's not something as a guiding principle in my life, but if someone asked me what religion I was, I suppose I say kind of pantheist in the sense that
No longer a
like,
solipsist then.
yeah, that's a really good way. Yeah, that's a really good point. Oh shit, yeah, yeah, I didn't make that connection. Yeah, yeah.
So how did
I
you
don't
get
know. Hopefully,
from
it makes sense.
well, let's just define it for people who don't know. So solipsism is thinking that you are the only thing that exists and the universe is false. It's not really real. You're conjuring it, to use your own
That's it.
word. And then
Yeah,
pantheist is the opposite end of the coin. It's seeing that the universe itself is the most realistic ground for everything, and everything arises from the universe, and it has a life and a consciousness of its own, sort of thing, right?
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Right. So like it's two opposite sides of a coin, it seems. So
Damn,
like how did you get there? How did you get from being this solipsist to this pantheist?
that's fascinating. Uh, I guess I never really. I don't know.
Or
I
are
don't
they
remember.
both within you in some way? Like they're not contradictory, they're both true.
I suppose, yeah, I suppose in a way they are both true. Like everything exists and nothing exists at the same time.
Right.
From a human perspective, I know my phone exists. I know I exist. I'm pretty sure I exist. Um, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything does exist. So yeah, I suppose both are true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm just trying to think where I got the where I got onto pantheism, and actually, it's not some kind of like spiritual journey or anything. I used to love watching a TV show called Red Dwarf. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't really ever watched it, but I've seen it, like I've seen it generally. Yeah.
the main character in that Lister, he's a pantheist, and
Oh, okay.
and and then I looked into it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I could be a pantheist as
Right.
well.
Yeah, I think I kind of got to it on my own too. Pantheism, but for me, it's a belief. Like pantheism is a belief, and the only thing you can solipsism is truth. Like the only thing you can never really know is that you exist, right? So solipsism is just pure truth, and then everything beyond your existence is a belief. So like I eat food
Yeah,
because I believe the world exists. Otherwise, like I probably wouldn't need food if there was no world. Like I'm right.
yeah,
So and then from the opposite end, like you believe everyone else exists through pantheism, through like the SE, through reality, because otherwise they're just you have no way to actually know that they're real, other than the fact that you believe that there's a base reality to everything, and that you're a part. Yeah.
That's a really good point about the belief, because like I said, I don't use it as a guiding principle, but maybe that's something I should really focus on as, like, I suppose, like the DI belief of the uh, uh, um, to actually kind of use it properly, I
Yeah.
suppose. Because like intellectually, I'm like, yeah, I suppose I'm a pantheist. Like that seems
Right.
like a reasonable way to believe. But yeah, so like, is that something that you kind of keep in your mind generally? Is it like just an outlook that you remind yourself of?
I don't know if I think it's just basically true for me, like that I believe the world exists and it's useful to believe that it exists, but I have to know that it's a belief, because you can lose, there's no actual evidence for it other than the fact that, yeah, that it somehow affects you in a way. I don't know.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I and
Yeah.
I and I completely believe it exists. Like 100%, I believe there's a reality, a base reality in all of us. Like for me, like I call myself more of a realist, but it's still a belief. If you think that it's not a belief, then you're delusional, I think, in my mind. Because there's no
Yeah.
actual factual basis for reality other than it's just a belief. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's um yeah, it sort of help, like that kind of thinking. It helps you not take things too seriously.
Right.
Like, you know, everything exists but also doesn't exist. It's
Hmm.
kind of makes life easier, and it kind of allows you to actually do stuff. Where it will for
Okay,
me,
so let's
hopefully.
talk about your FE a little
Mhm.
bit. Do you seek tribe validation? Is that something that you do? And
It,
connection?
yeah, it's something I can definitely see myself doing, especially with, like, on Facebook, for instance.
Right.
With, like, social media in general, like likes and retweets and all that. Um, uh, I
Is it like a
suppose in, like,
craving?
yeah, I suppose craving is a good way of putting it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does kind of like yeah, there is a kind of like hunger element to it. And yeah, and like without it for too long, it does I do feel kind of a little bit starved.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and do you see yourself as able to see feelings on a spectrum? Your feelings, other people's feelings?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, from my perspective, tell me if this sounds weird. I kind of see people as just mechanical primarily.
Okay.
We're
Well, it
I think
sounds
it's
weird,
because
but keep going.
yeah, like because I see myself as mechanical. From my perspective, I'm just a machine.
Okay.
I'm my brain is just neurons and chemicals, and I'm just a small part of that. Being able to look at itself.
Right.
So, um, and so other people, I, I I've read a lot about, like, INFJs being able to feel other people's feelings. I I kind of recognize that in a sense. Like if someone's angry, then I'll just become angry, and I won't really know why. It's like, okay, I'm angry now. Um, but like looking at people, I kind of yeah, I recognize
You have a good
other.
understanding of people, though.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Emotionally,
I mean,
emotional understanding.
yeah. Actually, I didn't realize that I did, because I thought like everyone was like me, or I was just
Right.
shit
Okay.
at being a human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so looking at um, like TE users or FI users, I can see now, like comparatively, I'm better at it. But because I've spent so long just kind of isolating myself, I haven't really developed my FE or even my NI very well.
I see.
Uh, just because I've kind of the world's scary, so I'm gonna hide in my corner.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, uh, I can read people fairly well, but nowhere near as much as someone who's actually using their brain properly would.
So when you say the world is scary, is it the people that are scary in it, or it's more like just the world itself, like reality itself, that's scary?
Um, well, yeah, I thought it was a single decider for a time, because I'm more scared of people. Like
Right.
people are kind of, I don't know, loud, I suppose.
Uh-huh.
Um, I suppose that's that FE. It's like their chemical reactions are Yeah, just loud. I don't know how else to describe it.
It sounds like a more of a consume thing, that they're loud, like they have lots of information and it's hard to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah. It's and I perhaps people don't realize just how much information they're giving off.
Hmm.
Um, and like even me, like I suppose I just unconsciously I'm picking up this information, um, and I just feel bombarded just by
Right.
people's presence. You know,
Could that be part of the not wanting to look at people as well, that they're giving off this information unintentionally, even just when you look at them, their behaviorisms, their mannerisms?
that's a great point. Yeah, I think that is a large part of it. Yeah, it's sort of like yeah, it's yeah, 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 basically.
Okay, interesting. Um, your FE, is it's feminine too, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
So you're double feminine.
that's
Interesting.
right. Yeah.
Okay. Um, do you, so yeah, I get that I get that you're a feminine FE. Do you see that in your own life? Like I can pick it up really easily, I guess. Do you see that you're not pushy on people? Because like you're really easy to talk to, easy to, yeah.
I think yeah, I actually I do stress out about it a lot. Um, but like people tend to say I kind of like I go with the flow and I'm kind of easygoing.
Right,
Of course, in my head I'm going fucking mental, but
right.
um, yeah, I do see the kind of feminine FE. You know, that was
Uh-huh.
sort of obvious. The feminine D in general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you get that cat energy? Like, can put someone push you back into a corner where you just bite their head off in the end?
yeah. That was the
Yeah.
real giveaway because it is those moments where people kind of push a little bit too far. I think maybe they don't realize that they're pushing. So I do try and like especially now I do try and push back a little bit sooner so they don't actually hit my masculine TI.
I see. That's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Uh-huh.
I do have an incredible temper when
When pushed too
and
far.
yeah, and it's really not fair on anyone else because it's like well,
They don't
they
know
don't
it. Yeah.
fucking know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm 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 saying it's okay, so of course they're gonna think it's okay. So
That's a little double decidery there, the way you're going on about that. Yeah. That's interesting. So you think it's not their fault that they're pushing too far? Like, I see.
yeah,
Interesting.
I suppose the kind of
Because for
yeah.
me that cat energy is more like when they do push too far, I like feel like I'm legitimately, like it's legitimate that I'm able to have this cat energy because like it's their fault. They brought it on themselves, sort of thing. But you're saying it's not their fault.
Yeah, I that's definitely not a natural thing. Like I have had to kind of learn that,
Right.
and I'm now describing it in OP terms, but it's something I've had to develop over time. But yeah, I wonder if it's like I don't know, like if you want to talk about your type much. I know some people don't really want to, but
If it's relevant to you, yeah, we're more talking about you, but yeah.
so I was just wondering because like FE is my savior.
Right.
I wonder if the cat energy is different when it's FE or DI savior. You know.
Yeah.
Suppose because FE is still my savior, it's like the cat energy when it finally hits is a demon, whereas in the other way around.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't have a problem pushing back from logic, right? So there's a definite male thinking there where my logic can push back, no problem. But my identity won't push back until I've been pushed too far. Like if someone's attacking me as a person and they're just taking it way too far, then like and like they've had several warnings, then it's just like, all right, now it's coming out. Like, yeah, it's a struggle, man. It's
Well,
rough.
that's interesting that you even say like they've had several warnings. So it's like it is good that you are giving that kind of heads up. So at that point, it kind of is their fault, you know. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it's still it looks from the outside as if it's disproportional, you know? It looks as
Mm.
if like all of a sudden for no reason I just bite their head off. And it's like no one sees the build up to it, you know what I mean? No one sees
Yeah,
that there's like this long procedural build up and then all of a sudden it's just cracks. It's like, all right, the water is overflowing. It's just going to come out at you. Watch your head. Yeah. So do you
yeah.
get that?
Yeah. So, okay. I went to my dad took me to like anger management counseling when I was a kid.
Right.
I suppose for this kind of outburst thing.
Right.
Um, like a few times, like I will just go into like an immediate fuck you mode. Um, where I just, especially with like low consumer, it's like I'm not fucking listening to you. I'm gonna tell you. Uh, it's more like passive aggressive. I
Uh-huh.
suppose maybe,
Oh, we.
and like you, I will fight on the logic, especially online, where I have this sort of like a psychological distance there.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that's calm.
but
That's we didn't really talk about your TI. Like when you argue on that logic, is it in a demon state or is it like even just calm? Because for me, it's just calm to argue about things, and people get upset for no reason, I think.
yeah, yeah. So I suppose for the most part, I am calm, but I
Right.
am noticing now because it is a demon. If people aren't, and with NI as well, if like people aren't really getting what I'm saying, um, I have quite a short fuse, like emotionally, with it. So if people kind of fight my logic a little bit too much, or if they're fighting something that I really do care about,
Hmm.
that's when I can get a bit sensitive. But I
I
try and I
see.
try and stay kind of conscious of that because um,
Right.
I realize it's normally nothing to be emotional about.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Um, do you do you see your identity? Do you feel like you have an identity? Did you go through some kind of identity crisis, like who am I sort of thing in your life?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm kind of going through this now, really, like
Hmm.
building my
How old
DI
are
is
you, by the
something
way?
I'm 27.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, is this so? Like growing up, I kind of felt like just a gestalt entity. Like anyone who would just come up, and I kind of immediately just I don't know, just kind of change myself to match them. So like feminine FE basically,
Right. Yeah.
um, and I suppose weirdly my DI locked onto programming from a fairly early age,
Uh-huh.
which I feel kind of lucky for, to be honest, because I
Right.
have kind of had to develop the sensory thinking to the point where I wasn't even aware of the NF anymore, um, which is
Yeah.
kind of
Programming
different.
is really great to develop that TI. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's uh, like it it was it was really useful to learn just like programming paradigms in general
Hmm.
because it did kind of give me this extra map with which to kind of view the world. Like look, I'm out of practice with it now, so I've kind of lost it a little bit.
Right.
Um, yeah,
But like a general logical framework too of how. Yeah.
that's it. And it's all procedural, and with like computers in general, it'll only do what you tell it to. Like
Right.
um, there's no kind of vaguity there. It's just it will do exactly what you say. So like
Hmm.
I found a kind of comfort in that,
Tell me a
just
little
that.
bit. You mentioned you were passive aggressive. Tell me a little bit about that.
Um, so I don't know. I can't really think of any examples, but like if I don't know. I'm not sure I really can
Is it
describe
generally
it.
something when someone goes against your identity or someone goes against your logic that you'll just sort of push back like a little bit passively?
Yeah, actually, there is an example. Like I was working with a colleague on like a joint project, and he wrote some code and I wrote some code, and we were working on our separate parts, but
Hmm.
in one thing. Um, and he just made some edits to my code. So I've just changed it around, and like it was messy as fuck. It's like he got it working, and like I didn't really know why, but that kind of got to me. I understand now. It probably was my TI, but it was like, why are you why are you kind of tampering with my stuff? Like that's my code. If there's a bug in my code, like I want to fix it. Like
Right.
in my head, it was like you
It's your
should have told.
responsibility. It's your code. Yeah.
That's it. It's my responsibility. Like you should have told me about this bug, and then I would have fixed it.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I kind of got very passive aggressive with him for that. And I
Hmm.
really, I don't, especially with him, I really don't like getting into that kind of frame of mind because like he's just such a great guy,
Yeah.
and like he
He probably
genuinely
meant
does.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, he really did. Yeah, he really did. Yeah, yeah. So I don't, and like he's never kind of treated me that way as well. Like
Hmm.
I can't remember one time where he's done that. Um, so yeah, I don't, I definitely don't like.
Mm-hmm.
uh, that kind of attitude.
Mm-hmm. Um, what about this identity quest you're going through now? Like, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so um, I suppose like a large part of this was my finding my TI in a way that
Mm-hmm.
was just centered around myself rather than because I got into programming to create games and worlds to entertain and kind of help people escape from reality. Um, so
It's
yeah,
like what you're doing your whole life. Yeah. All right.
yeah. Join me, a land of nonsense and fantasy.
Right.
So like with uh, so learning objective personality was something I returned to after exploring like socionics and stuff because like I really just want to make like one map of who I am, um, and OP seemed like the perfect opportunity to do that. Um, that's really where I'm starting with
Right.
kind of processing being in INFJ is still kind of just weird to say out loud, but um, and just like making that kind of like the seed of who I am, so I've got something to build around, you know. And there's like a lot of great advice from Dave and Chan in my audios, which like I'm going because I was obsessed with Darren Brown in college, so I'm going back
Oh,
there
that's
because
interesting. You have a very
yeah,
similar type as him too.
yeah. I think it's just the last two animals I switched.
Right. Yeah.
He's info dominant. I'm energy. I I really wish I was info dominant because being energy, it's like I can't not being able to take the information seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It's frustrating. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So that's where I'm starting with it.
The thing is, information for you should be. This I said before in another interview, but I found that info dominance, if they get the information right, the energy works. It's like a combination lock, and as soon as the info is right, the lock opens and the energy flows. And the same thing, as soon as the energy is balanced and right, then the information properly flows. The lock just
Oh, that's
opens.
interesting.
Yeah,
Damn, that's okay. So, like getting this energy right then.
yeah.
Like, how is that something that you've kind of explored with other people? Like, have you found a way to really do that? Kind of.
So for me, I'm info dominant more. Like I find myself both. I've got both, right? We all have both. But I was typed as info dominant. But I find that if I get the information right, like if I have it right, my energy levels are fine. If I know the right way to do things, if I if I can only just crack this and figure this out the right way, and then my energy is fine. I won't be wasting energy, you know. And so I find the same thing. If you find a way to balance your energy and get your energy right, you're doing right by the information in the same way. You're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
and you're also, in order to balance that information, you might go and find a piece of information. So you'll go consume, or in order or when once you've found the balance of energy, then you'll find that information is properly flowing. I don't know if you found that.
Damn, no, that makes total sense. Actually, that's something I'm going to focus on. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that makes total sense. So, like, I suppose for me, it would be really kind of getting making sure I keep like a proper rest routine and actually using energy as well because I could be kind of lethargic sometimes. So
Right.
yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And like it's about efficiency too. It's knowing where and when to use your energy, like the
Oh yes.
right place to use it. And so then using energy to get information or to give information, to transfer that information, is also knowing when to do it, and then it'll happen. Like if you do it right, if you target the information properly and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Um, okay, so let's talk about this SE. Do you do you do you sometimes forget reality exists?
Um, yeah, I will kind of just totally zone out. Like I imagine everybody zones out, but it happens quite a lot. Especially when I'm kind of like I'll sometimes just like flashbacks. I kind of just it's like I actually don't see anything in front of me, and all I
Hmm.
see is like I'm back there again. Um, I suppose I kind of forget reality exists in the sense that like, I don't check my mailbox. Like I actually just emptied it yesterday. It was
Mm-hmm.
like rammed full. Like stuff like that. I'm not keeping track of, you know, state changes in my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I do find it quite jarring. Like I forget what it was now, but I came home once, uh, fairly recently, and something in my house where I was sure it was totally moved,
Oh
and that kind
no.
of like yeah, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, and my mind's like, did someone come in here? Did I move that? Why don't I remember moving that? You know, it's like kind of like
Right.
yeah, a little bit of an observer freak out, but
Yeah.
yeah, stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
If
is it hard for you to adjust to, and to understand the fact that reality changes, that things are changing, that computer programs go obsolete, that things like that happen?
I suppose I suppose I'm just intellectually aware that it happens. I'm
Intellectually
not.
aware of it, but when it does
Yeah,
come, when you are confronted with it, then that's when the freakouts happen.
yeah. Especially like with there was like a like Microsoft automatically updated my PC with Windows 10.
I
I
hate it
was
when
like,
that happens.
the, the fuck is this? And like, it wasn't even like if it had just updated my operating system, that'd have been fine.
Right.
But it also changed all my settings and it moved all my files around and it installed Edge and it's like, yeah, like I didn't ask for this. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, updates and stuff. I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
starting to see now my kind of observer issues.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I kind of saw like I got ramped up talking about
Uh-huh.
Microsoft, but
What about distracting reality, distracting you, coming in and ruining your concentration, or disturbing you in some way? Are you distracted by clutter? Are you distracted by loud noises,
um, loud noises, particularly, yeah, especially when I was a kid.
bright
Very
lights?
sensitive to yeah. Bright lights is an interesting one. Like harsh light, especially, but I do like very colorful lights. So there's like it's sort of a love-hate relationship with
Hmm.
that. And similar with distractions, like if I'm really actually focused on something, um, distractions annoy me. But if it's from people, I normally welcome the distraction. But I suppose
Interesting.
it gets in my play energy. I'm always kind of happy to help people. So, but yeah, if I'm actually really focused on something and it's something that's important to me, um, yeah, distractions are really annoying. Like construction noises and or just people knocking on my door, stuff like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
Uh, One thing I've been trying to kind of identify with like SE tidal waves. Like I don't really even know what an SE tidal wave would look like. I can't identify it myself. I did used to like run away from home as a
Right.
kid.
So tidal waves come from ignoring the function, like so ignoring maybe the day-to-day things, the stuff that piles up, and then all of a sudden there's just way too much of it, and you don't know where to start.
Oh, of course. I was thinking like something that happens within me. But of course, yeah, like I'm not of course I'm not respecting the SE, so the
You're not
universe comes
respecting
and gets
reality.
me.
Yeah,
Right.
and all of a sudden, like, you can't ignore reality for too long, otherwise reality will come and knock on your door and be like, hey, I'm here. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, oh, that makes sense now. Oh, it's so
so
obvious
so that
now.
happens to you then.
uh, yeah, I suppose uh, I'm kind of lucky, but also not lucky in the sense that my life is in a state of homeostasis. Like all my bills are like automatically paid by direct debit and things.
Right.
So most of my life is sort of just automatic. Um, but yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of shit stirring in my life, a lot of SE waiting to come get me. So I should probably I don't know, I
Get
should
on
probably
that
go
at
and
some
look.
point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look for that missing information. Yeah.
Right. Does it put you at, like, uneasy? Does it make you uneasy to think that there's chaos out there? That there's things that are going to come and disrupt you and your safe little box?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm better with it now. I remember in the last flat I lived in, um, the landlord would have a tendency of just showing up sometimes.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and he has a key, so sometimes if I didn't answer the door, he'd just let himself in.
That's
uh,
illegal.
was it? I
Yeah.
don't know if it's illegal here.
I don't know if it's illegal there, but
Uh,
it's illegal everywhere I know. He's renting you the place. It's your place.
yeah, I thought that, but
Yeah.
F feminine FE. Oh, I don't want to tell you I don't want you in my house.
Right.
So that was a source of anxiety for me for sure. If
Right.
for any point he could just come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but,
What about the fear of the unknown?
uh, yeah, I suppose like I know for most of my life I've been scared of the unknown.
Hmm.
But I suppose like it depends what you mean by unknown. I'm quite comfortable with um, myself not. I don't know.
You're comfortable with you not knowing.
Yeah, kind of, because I'm kind of comfortable in the sense that I can figure that out. But
If you
um,
okay,
yeah, I am uncomfortable with um, like people holding back information from me. I feel
right.
quite uncomfortable about. Yeah.
Oh, I see. If you see someone like not saying something or
Yeah, especially when like especially it's easier in like a face-to-face interaction. Or if I'm talking to someone, and it happens with my mum quite a lot. I feel like she's sort of dancing around a certain subject, and she's not saying something. And like to me, it's like I feel like you're not saying something. I don't know what you're not saying. So I'll say like, you're holding something back from me, and she'll say like, no, no, no. What would I be holding back from you? It's like, oh, that kind of reaction
right,
is like, you kind of just told me even more now. And like it's difficult because I don't know how much of that is you know my own brain lying to myself that there must be missing information, and how much of it I'm actually seeing that there might be something missing.
right.
I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And also, you pointed at the what, like she's holding some what back from you, some piece of
uh,
fact. Yeah, some critical piece of information.
that's interesting. So like I suppose for an SI it's like some Y then,
Some SE
like
data
some
point. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So like for an SE
Mhm.
person, they'd be like, why are they doing that? I don't understand their motivations, sort of thing.
Okay.
And so you'd be like, okay, I see some motivations here. What is happening? Yeah, that's the freak out. What's the what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's so obvious. I have N disease because like I don't even remember what my shoe size is. Like I don't remember what my clothes
Right.
size is. I have to check every time. Like the only reason I know my shirt is medium is because I only have to remember if it's large, small, or medium.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm the same actually. um, well, really interesting, Fred. Do you have anything to promote at all? A YouTube
uh,
channel or a blog or something or a charity?
um, I might. Damn, I should have thought about this. I might do something with my YouTube channel at some point.
Okay.
So direct people there. I think it's the Night's Way.
Okay. I'll put a link in the description. What are you
Okay.
planning with your YouTube channel?
I'm not sure yet. I'm like after uh like seeing some of like what you're doing and what like some other people in the group are doing. I have been thinking about maybe starting some kind of typology related channel.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet, but
Okay. Well,
yeah.
we'll put a link in the description to your YouTube channel. Do you have any final message or anything about your type, your struggles?
I would say don't believe the MBTI nonsense. INFJ is not special. We are the people you bullied in school, and we're just ordinary people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So like, if you were to believe the MBTI nonsense, it'd be like you have this secret hidden world that nobody knows about, and you're keeping to yourself and hiding from everybody.
Yeah,
Is that wrong?
yeah. Well, I don't know. If I'm hiding it from everybody else, I'm hiding it from myself as well.
I see. I got you. Okay. Cool, man. Anyway, yeah. Have a good one. Thanks a lot, man.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Bye. See you, man.